Hello, my name is Charles, and in today's video, we're going to go over why we get overwhelmed and how to conquer overwhelm. A lot of people in today's modern society, they got a lot of tasks. They got a lot of to-dos. They're getting overwhelmed. There's a lot of difficulty, and it's hard sometimes for people. But there's solutions. There's solutions. I get, with depending especially on your level of overhead, there can be a lot of overwhelm, and there can also be a lot of freedom. And so I'm going to teach you guys a path closer to the freedom from overwhelm, and help you understand why you get overwhelmed and what we can all do about it when we do. So first, why we get overwhelmed. So we got a couple of reasons. So if we imagine, right, this is brain. This is brain. Why do we get the feeling that there are a ton of bricks and that it's just too much to manage? It's too much. Why do we get that? Well, probably a couple of reasons. But the first and primary is probably twofold. There are probably two, maybe three big reasons. Three big reasons, and our solution will address these three big reasons, right? We got three big reasons that I think, or that I'm going to bring up in this case. There's probably more, but these are three big reasons, and and then we'll go into what we naturally do. So, first big reason, right, is systems. Systems. So what does this mean? What do we mean when we say, right, the systems? Like, how is systems overwhelming us? Well, we got the bio, and we got the psycho, and we got the social, and we got all this, right? So essentially, your whole, soul, your whole, mind, your whole consciousness, your neurophysiological system, right, it could be, experiencing some level of increased cortisol, just from a systems approach. You're like, the first thing with overwhelm is, right, you want to first thing in a car, right? I would say cars not running well. There's a lot of, the cars, it's a lot of strain and it's a lot of strife to get the gears turning. Well, first we just want to check the system. Is everything in order, right? Are all the gears turning? Are the cylinders going the way they're supposed to, right? Is everything doing what it's supposed to? All right, so we check the system. We check the neurophysiological system, check to make sure your soul's at peace, internally check in with yourself. That's that's systems approach, and that's important because we check to make sure system most of the time, right? System's doing all right. Okay, maybe that's not the issue. Maybe it's just everyone gets overwhelmed. Why else are we getting overwhelmed? And second reason we get overwhelmed is like attention and prio. So like attention and priorities. So so attention and priorities. So when we feel overwhelmed or stressed, right? What could this mean? Now sometimes we feel if our attention is scattered, right? It's not that necessarily the task. Let's say, you got a bunch of dishes to do and laundry and, cleaning to do. It's like, now, everyone watching this video is intelligent enough, is bright enough, has the physical, capacity to fold laundry, put it in a hamper, and put it in the dryers, right? Like we can reasonably be like, well, that's not, it's not that hard, right? Like we can all just do it. Like it's just, you just do it. But the attention and the priorities can be like, I don't have the energy. I want to do this right now, right? If you're in all these directions, then you're like, it's too much. If it's another thing on the plate, it's too much. The task itself, right? Literally just lifting like a shirt, like lifting this shirt right here. Not a hard task, right? We can all lift a shirt, throw it in the hamper, and be like, okay, well, we just, put the load in. Like we can conceptualize and intellectually we're like, well, that's such an easy task. Like we all have done that. That's easy peasy. But it's like in the scatteredness and in the feeling that there's so many tasks, there's so many things I need to do. You get that, tons of bricks on your shoulder. Oh, it's so much. It's so much weighing on me. So as a simple individual, so that's where it's like, okay, sometimes it's the attention and priorities. There's too much. We feel there's too much on our plate. There's too many things, right? The thing in and of itself, the moment to moment, just am picking up a shirt and putting it in my hamper. Not a hard thing, but in our mind, there's so many activities and things we need to do that it becomes overwhelming. And I think the third thing, right? The third is actually, since I think most humans are, somewhat, I'd like to believe that most humans are somewhat reasonable, and we may not be perfectly rational, but I think we're somewhat reasonable as human beings. And so I'd like to have some faith in humanity, faith in you guys. So, and even in me too, I'm human. I'm no better than anyone else. So here we go. This is the effort to reward. Effort. This is a little equation I think our brain runs. Effort and then reward. So let's say for sake of hypothetical, we have a paper due. Guys, we're in class again. We're in class, everyone, and we got a big paper. This is your big, this is your final paper. Big paper due. This is going to be a juicer. And so we got our big paper due, and it's due in 2 weeks. And it's going to take a lot of effort, tons of effort. It's, a 20-page paper. We got to cite sources. It's going to be a lot of work. So let's just, tons of effort, all that effort. And the reward, you don't even get it for 2 weeks. No money is going to go into your account. Your parents aren't even going to say like, good job potentially, or like congratulate you, till like after it's done. So you're putting in all this effort, and you got to wait at least 2 weeks. And then the teacher might not even immediately grade it. You might have to wait another 2 weeks of like patiently / anxiously waiting to see how well you did. And then you get like, your reward, like, your reward's like either a break, like you get summer break, or, like it's like relief, like anxiety relief, but you don't even get it till like, a while. So naturally, what are we going to do? You're putting in all this effort. The reward is like 2 weeks away, dude. And so like with all that, it's like, well, what are you going to do? Some people may be able to help you, some people not, maybe like really technical. And so you're like, man, what am I going to do? Like, that's a lot. And I still got life to live. Like, what about today? Like, I got life to live. I don't like, do I? So with all this, then you're like, I'm going to just do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to procrastinate. And so in today's society, right, especially in like the hyper-capitalist, like success, grind, hustle, we must work hard. Like, and especially in hustle bustle culture, we're like, you got to grind. You got to get after it. If you're not, if you're not sleeping at 4 a.m. and waking up at, 6, burning yourself out, then you ain't grinding like a businessman. If you're not doing that, all right, so you're going to be like people, oh, dude, you're so lazy, man. And it's like, well, if we look at it reasonably, it's a lot of effort and the reward's not coming very soon. So your brain's like, well, why do I want to do that? Let's put that off tomorrow. I can do the enjoyable thing now. I got 2 weeks. It's not even that urgent, right? So your brain says effort reward it's not urgent. And then the second thing says is, well, it's not urgent. Like I got 2 weeks. So if I got 2 weeks, like, why do it now? You know what I mean? And so that's our reasonable mind. And if we ask ourselves, right, some people are going to beat ourselves up. We're going to be like, man, like, dude, I'm being so lazy, dude. Like, I'm not working hard, man. It's so much work. I'm overwhelmed. Right? We're gonna beat ourselves up. We're gonna feel all bad that we're not grinding, that we're not like David Goggins or something. And so then it's like, okay, well, what do we do about that? What are we gonna do about that? How do we solve? So naturally, we're gonna procrastinate, right? We're going to procrastinate. Or if we wonder, sorry, almost lost my train of thought. So that's, if we wonder, like, historically, right? If you take an evolutionary lens, right, for why we procrastinate. Imagine you were hunter-gatherers, right? Imagine you were hunter-gatherers and you were foraging for some berries. So you got this green brush here. You're foraging berries, you're making baskets, your basket, like you're doing all this stuff, right? And you got a big task that's going to take tons of effort and you're not getting a reward very soon. You're not going to get like a meal. It's not going to like save somebody's life, and it's not going anywhere. Then what is our brain going to do? Especially in times when like it was more like, when survival wasn't as so taken care of, or like, when we were in that hunter-gatherer time, it's like you're just going to procrastinate. Because if you're as hunters and gatherers just trying to like survive and continue the species, right? Then, right, and this is only if you take the evolutionary lens, right? If you're trying to do that, then what does it serve you to put a bunch of effort into something to not get a reward like immediately if it's not relevant to your survival? Now, in today's society, we've kind of like ascended that. And then even, as spiritual beings, like we recognize that's not the most important purpose, or at least in my belief and in my trust. So it's like, okay, well, if this is why our brain's doing it, how do we solve it? How do we solve that overwhelm? And I'm going to give you 3 solutions. 1, 2, 3. We are going to take the cultivator approach. There is the cultivator approach. There is the priorities. And there is the simplicity. I know the writing, guys. I get it. I know the writing's not perfect, but just bear with me. Bear with me. Please have patience. Thank you. Okay, so these are the 3 approaches: cultivator, priority, and simplicity. It's a trifecta, and this is going to solve our overwhelm. First, cultivator. Okay. First option, the cultivator. What are we going to do here? The cultivator approach to overwhelm. Now, this is the long-term approach. What we're going to do is this is like planting seeds, okay? This is like planting seeds that will make our life, sprout and be easier, and we make beautiful fruits. So that essay, that thing is whatever task or thing that's causing you overwhelm, it's gonna be easier. All the fruits of our labor will go better. And so how the cultivator approach works, and this is a long-term approach, is you're going to be like, okay, well, just like when we talked about systems, how can we cultivate, if we genuinely believe, right, that your life is precious, that, or at least what you're doing is worthwhile, if you think genuinely that whatever task or thing that you are doing is worthwhile, then investing in the system or the being that is creating the thing that is worthwhile, that would be like a sensible approach. Like you would want the best vehicle or the best, thing or system to create so in other words, as a human, if you want to make the best possible things, you would want the best possible human system. So, this is like where we do a little bit of self-love. We do a little bit of exercise. Maybe we get some morning sunlight. We engage in like whatever sunlight. Maybe we get some, good positive social interaction. And this is like the cultivation. Like we are basically, this is long-term, right? Long-term to make things easier on ourselves. The higher degree of functioning and health and vitality this system is, like this, your human system, the more wonderful and easy it is to create things in the world. This is long term. It's like if you're super healthy, imagine this, right? You're sick, right? You got the flu, you got the sniffles. Are you going to be able to like grind or make the best possible things or be as creative as you usually are? No, because right, your system's not feeling too good. It's harder. And if your system's feeling really, really good, if you're really, really happy, if you're really, really healthy, what are you gonna? It's gonna be easier to create things. So that's the cultivator approach. That's long term, right? That's long term. That's not gonna solve your immediate problems, but long term, it will make life easier. So second is priorities. This is gonna help some short term. So this one is pretty simple. There's going to be two things in this, right? This brackets off into two things. So, and you only have to do two things. The first thing you do, right? First thing you do is reduce decisions. So a lot of us have decision fatigue. And so it's like, which way do we go? What are we going to do? We got all these decisions, our life. Like, what if your task is literally what major you're going to choose, what job you're going to choose? You feel like you got all these decisions and like, it's so overwhelming. What's the best path? What do I choose? Right? We're going to reduce the decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis. We're going to make life, we're going to consciously choose some late, people call it laziness, but it's like calculated laziness. It's like really intelligent, self-loving laziness. We're going to reduce the amount of decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. And what that means is like, keep things simple. Like, the clothes, or whatever thing you can make, like you don't spend so much time doing decisions. So whether it be the clothes you wear, whether it be, what you're going to eat, right? What you're, let's say like if, what's a good example? Routines. This is where routines are super helpful. Because what we need to do is, this is like, reducing decisions is another word for like stability. We can't have it where every day, every decision we're spending so long on, it's right? We just, every day we're going to do a couple things that we don't even make a decision on. It's just part of our behavior. All right, we reduce the decisions. I don't got to think about this. I got to think about this. I don't got to think about, let's say, clothes. I don't got to think about, what I'm going to do for the first 30 minutes of the day. Or, whatever it is that you want to reduce your decisions, those things always done or never done, or you just don't think that much about. You're going to say, these activities, I'm going to reduce the amount of decisions. I'm going to keep it simple. And that way your brain doesn't get so overwhelmed. You're reducing the load. And then the second thing is a little beautiful quote, right? Worth, right? And then like priorities, essentially, okay? So this is priorities / attention. So this is like, okay, if something, the general quote here, If something is worth doing, it is worth doing well. And if something is not worth doing, it is not worth doing at all. Meaning, for me, it's like there's a couple, as long as I hit like 3 to 4 main activities throughout the day, good day, right? I did some coding, I made a YouTube video, I talked to my wonderful girlfriend, I was loving. Done. As long as I did those things, good day. Those things are worth doing well. Other things, not so important. If it's worth doing, it is worth doing well. And that's going to keep like the overwhelm lower, because if you focus on a couple priorities, right? Let's say you're doing laundry, right? If you're thinking about a million different activities, you're going to get overwhelmed. But if it's just like whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do that well. And then to the exclusion of other things, well, we can do one thing, we can do it well, too many things. This is the priorities approach. This is just reduce and focus, right? We're going to declutter, priorities, and then focus. And then the last thing is, simplicity. And this is more of a present moment approach. So this is kind of beautiful, right? Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse. Presence, simplicity. And this one's going to help you in the immediate moment. Let me, all right, I was going to get some water, but let me continue. So this one's presence, right? Simplicity approach. How this one works is, it is like in those moments of overwhelm, in those moments where there's so much on your plate and you're feeling so overwhelmed, you don't know how to handle it, it feels like too much. What you can do is you can stick to simplicity. So there's a couple things you could do, but this is just returning to the presence and attending to the present. So for example, let's say I was feeling overwhelmed. I got way too much on my plate. That big paper. Let's go back to that big paper. We got that big paper due. We got the big paper, right? Big paper due. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Guys, we got the big paper and our brain's feeling overwhelmed. Well, let's return to the present moment. So if you're like typing on a keyboard or if you're writing, be like, okay, I'm feeling the keyboard. What's really going on? Like you can even ask yourself, like if I'm feeling overwhelmed, you can genuinely ask yourself, or you can genuinely ask yourself, like, what's going on in this present moment? Right? I'm feeling this feeling, right? I'm staring at the screen. I'm typing on the keyboard. Thoughts are arising, and just simplify it. If it takes a couple deep breaths, like in and out, then you do that too. But in that moment, right, if you return to the presence of mind of what's going on right now, then it helps. I mean, imagine the definition of presence of mind. It's like being collected. We say calm, cool, collected. What does that mean? Means we've collected ourselves. We're not lost in thought. We're not lost in over here, over there. We're right here, right now. So if you're writing that paper, just and it feels overwhelming, return to the moment. Be like, okay, all I'm doing is the thoughts are flowing, the emotions are flowing. I'm looking at this, and I'm just going to chop some wood, and I'm going to carry water. I'm just going to do this simple task in front of me. What's the next indicated right step in this present moment? Keep typing on the keyboard. Okay, type. And every time you get overwhelmed, every time your mind's like, oh, but there's so much to do, and it starts future tripping and all this. Deep breath. What am I doing right now? I'm chopping wood. I'm carrying water. In other words, I'm typing on the keyboard, staring at the screen. Simple stuff. So this is These are my 3 solutions to overwhelm and why we get overwhelmed. And I hope this helps everyone listening. I wish you guys all the best and enjoy your journey.